continues funding the government at a lower level and defunds Obamacare. Joining me now is former economist for Vice President Biden, Jared Bernstein, former Republican Congressman Steve LaTourette, and MSNBC's Crystal Ball. Former Congressman LaTourette, I have to begin with you. Don't you miss the place? Don't you wish you were there to help work this one out?
Well, the good news is I left in January, and after watching it, I decided I really wasn't the problem.
Yes, I think you have proven that your leaving was not what we needed to do in order to make the place work better. Right. I mean, you understand the bind that John Boehner's in. Obviously, he doesn't want to go this route, and it seems like he's being forced to go this route. Is it going to be one of those plays where he gives the Tea Party what they want and takes it to a vote, and they see that gets nowhere and then goes back? How do you see it playing out?
Well, I was here for the government shutdown in 1995. It was my first year in the Congress, and that didn't play so well for the Republican parties, as I recall.
Congressman, can I stop you right there? Did you think it would? I mean, when you were in the middle of it and Newt Gingrich was leading your party into that shutdown, was your feeling, I know you were a freshman and you were new, did you think, yeah, this will work for us?
No, but I had some questions, and you know, at the end of the day, it wasn't a government-wide shutdown. It was just one bill, the labor HHS bill, and there really was this chest bumping going on between President Clinton and Newt Gingrich. And if you look at George Stephanopoulos' book, everybody was sort of weighing public opinion as who were they going to take this out on. When we reached the conclusion that it was us, we reopened the government.
And so, again, what do you see of the flow here, given the deadline, October 1st, getting something done?
Well, listen, the smart play is what they were going to do last week, and to satisfy them to send over a vote, make the Senate vote on repealing Obamacare, which is their cause célèbre, and then have a clean CR, a clean continuing resolution that would keep the government open at sequestration levels. That was rejected by these 20 or 30 folks who have really called the tune since the 2010 election. So the title of the Wall Street Journal editorial is The Power of 218. When you deny John Boehner and Eric Cantor 218, they have no leverage, they have no ability to govern, and it just goes into chaos. Now, anybody that thinks that they're going to send this over to the Senate and Harry Reid and the Democrats are going to say, you know what, we were wrong all this time, and President Obama is going to say, you know, what was I thinking? This is a dumb law, the Affordable Care Act, is smoking something. And so that's not going to happen, and we're going to have the same sort of theatrics that we had with Plan B at the end of the fiscal cliff, at the end of the last Congress, and it's not going to have a happy ending.
Crystal Ball, we just saw this is tearing the Republican Party apart. I was really struck by how far David Brooks went in talking about Ted Cruz. The little swipe at him about, you know, Canada through Texas. Right. Unnecessary if you're just talking about the policy. It seems like David Brooks, who's a very calm and modest Republican, has been driven crazy by this.
Well, and as he should be. And I think the way he called him a media personality, not really even a senator, someone who just is there for his own glory, has no interest in governance at all, is exactly right. And he is leading this wing of the party that really only wants what is best for them in their own narrow short-term interest. You know, the country be damned and even their own party be damned. They don't care that they're putting John Boehner in an awkward spot. They don't care that they could be setting President Obama up for what the Wall Street Journal called his liberal blaze of glory, reinstalling Nancy Pelosi in 2014. All they care about is winning these little battles with their base, where they can look like the true conservatives with the spine of steel and the ones who are not blinking in the face of the GOP establishment. So even if you put aside the Obamacare piece of this, even if you put that aside, I think John Boehner was going to have a very hard time passing a CR that would satisfy them in terms of draconian cuts that would have any shot at getting through the Senate.
Jared Bernstein, the Republicans in the House have scared their cheerleaders at the Wall Street Journal. I've never read an editorial where they were more afraid. I mean, the language they're using, this kamikaze language, it's kind of extreme even for them.
Yes, I watch you frequently, Lawrence, and I can't remember the last time you approvingly cited a Wall Street Journal editorial.
Well, I would have changed the wording, but their concept is in the right place, yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, listening to the discussion that we're having here and then thinking about Rush Limbaugh and his comments, there's something that he was saying that actually strikes me as probably correct, and I'm not sure how we deal with it, which is that, in fact, people like Ted Cruz and the other members of his caucus, we can call them the crazies if you want, but the fact is that they really do seem to have been sent here to obstruct. Now, I'm with the congressman who remembers a day when you were actually sent here to get things done, particularly in an economic climate, in a health insurance climate, where getting things done is critically important. By the way, not to mention things like Syria or gun control. So the idea of actually accomplishing things through compromise must strike most people who can hear my voice right now as precisely the way to go. But Limbaugh probably is correct when he says that's what they're sent here for. And David Brooks, you know, you're being really old school there and talking about actually getting things done.
Steve Leclerc, that sounds like an important point to me, the Limbaugh point, actually, that he kind of agrees with David Brooks in terms of Ted Cruz's mission, that no, he is not here to put more new laws on the books. The Cruz side of the party, don't they believe that we have enough laws and enough programs in America, and their legislative mission, to the extent that there is one, is to dismantle some of what we have?
Well, the amazing thing to me in that argument is why people who want to shut down the government want to be elected to serve in the government. That's sort of an oxymoron. But you're right. In some ruby red districts, you get big points and slaps on the back for being just saying no. But, you know, I made the comment when I retired that we could send monkeys to the Congress to push the red button on a continuing basis if you rewarded them, and that's really not legislating. The art of legislating is recognizing the constitutional framework that we have. And as a Republican, like it or not, Republicans control the House, Democrats the Senate, and the White House, and the Constitution sort of sets up this scheme. If you want to get something done, you have to find consensus. And these guys are equating consensus with surrender and being spineless or being a rhino. That's not right. Consensus is you give something, you get something, and so does the other guy.
Well, and also, they're undermining their own goal of quote-unquote limited government and budget cuts, because what they're essentially doing here is handing power over to Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic caucus, because ultimately the way that it looks like things will go down if we are going to avoid a government shutdown, John Boehner would have to go to Nancy Pelosi and ask her to muster votes from the Democratic caucus to get things through, because they are so unwilling to work with him on this at all.
Jared Bernstein, go ahead, Jared.
If I might extend on that a bit, it's not just the strategery part of this that they're getting wrong. It's, in fact, if you actually repealed Obamacare, what would happen would be 25 million fewer people would have health coverage. And you know, you do have these polls where Tea Partiers say, oh yeah, we really like Medicare, but we want to, you know, shut down the government. So we have we have poverty and income inequality stuck at record levels. So not only may they be acting against their political interests, I can't speak to that, but they're certainly acting against their economic and health interests.
Steve Leclerc, I just want to, before we go, get what your advice would be to someone elected, a Republican elected to the House or to the Senate, who says to you, Ted Cruz, who says, look, Steve, I'm against how much big government we've piled up here. I don't want to add to it at all. I want to reduce it. I want to do everything I can to bring it down, make it smaller. If possible, get rid of Obamacare. I would like to do all those things. And that's that legislator's genuine philosophy. I want to do everything I can to reduce the size of government. How would you advise them to handle themselves in the current Congress?
Well, first of all, I'd tell them to get to the nearest psychiatrist because they sought this office. But second of all, I mean, the deal was the deal that John Boehner and the president tried to make in August 2011. And you have to have a recognition on the Republican side that revenues have to be a part of that equation. The tax reform that's moving through Ways and Means can get you some of those revenues. And on the other side, my friends the Democrats have to say, you know, plans that were developed, Medicare, Social Security, 1935, 1965, maybe they need a little updating, and you work it out. And you can get there. But you know, if you look at, I think the sum total after we had all the fiscal cliff and everything else, the amount of money that was saved between fiscal years was something like $8 billion for all that nonsense. You could save 10, 20 times that if you sat down and said, here's what I want, now what do you want? Let's get it done.
Crystal Ball, Jared Bernstein, and Steve Leclerc, thank you all very much for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thank you so much.
Coming up.